Today's video is powered by Hawpog. Skip it up and that up.
They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
It was interesting watching this footage of Bioshock because it brings back a lot of memories. I remember playing the demo of the original Bioshock, and this scene right here where you're in the water, the plane just crashed, and you're seeing the luggage and the debris and everything like that. And it's a cutscene at this point. And then you go up to the surface like you're seeing here, and I think I'm still in a cutscene. And I'm sitting in the water, and I'd even think to touch the controller like a moron, and I'm looking around and it looks gorgeous, but I'm thinking, okay, this is great. I'm sitting here in the water and nothing's happening. It just looks fantastic. I'm thinking that this is a cutscene, it's CGI. And then I accidentally brushed my hand against the analog stick on the Xbox 360 controller, and I see my character move. Now keep in mind, I was kind of a noob to gaming again. I took a hiatus for the 6th generation. I mean, I owned the PS2 for a little bit. I owned the original Xbox for a little bit. But I didn't... collectively, honestly, I owned consoles for the 6th generation maybe like 4 months out of the entire time. So when I moved the controller and I realized this is actual gameplay, this is in-game, this isn't CGI or pre-rendered, my jaw hit the floor. I remember that moment sitting in my ex-girlfriend and I's apartment, and I was blown away before I even got into the gameplay of Bioshock. That experience to me was one that I'll always remember, not even from a gaming perspective, but how something, you know, whether you see a play or a movie or a film, something so profound just hits you and you never forget it. And that was one of those moments. That was my first memory of Bioshock, and that was just the demo. Bioshock, to me, the series, I actually am a big fan. I like Bioshock 2. Bioshock 1, obviously, I like more, but Bioshock 2 is a great game as well. Really, to me, signified that gaming was a medium, for everybody. The mature theme where, you know, you have this, you know, decrepit, crumbling utopia that Andrew Ryan created around you. The whole story, the twist ending that really makes your jaw drop. Just, if you haven't played Bioshock before, I won't ruin it for you, but would you kindly play this game, and the story in it is absolutely amazing. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, would you kindly? Now, gameplay-wise, if you haven't played the original Bioshock before, the most interesting thing with it, yes, it is a first-person shooter, but you have plasmids. You could shoot lightning out of your left hand. You could shoot lightning into the water where a bunch of splicers are and kill 3 guys in one swoop. You could have bees, literally bees, come out of your flesh, and you could throw those bees at a group of splicers and have them sting them to death. It was clunky. Now, even though a lot of people weren't blown away by Bioshock 2 because they were expecting that whole unique, they were expecting to be as blown away as they were with Bioshock 1, and I think Bioshock 2 is unfairly kind of persecuted for not being mind-blowing when it was just a sequel that was meant to evolve the series, not revolutionize it. Bioshock 1's gameplay was a little bit clunky. You can only have either your left hand up, which had the plasmids, or your right hand up, which had the weapon, and that could make the gameplay a little hairy at times. But it was because it was such a unique concept, and there were so many different ways that you could play through the game, even though I don't think it was, you know, that was the big thing they tried to sell the original Bioshock on, was you could play the game whatever way you want to, which, to a point, I'll have my reviews linked below, is true, but there's just sometimes you got to use a certain kind of damn plasmid or something to get through a part of the game you can't do you can't always have your own unique twist on the gameplay, but it was different enough that it stood out from every other first-person shooter out there. Beyond the gameplay, one of the other things that was cool is how they gave you a choice of what kind of person you wanted to become in Bioshock. Now, there's characters in Bioshock called Little Sisters. Now, you could either help them and cure them. Little Sisters carry Adam, and Adam's like a coveted thing in Bioshock. And there's two things you could do. You could kill the Little Sister and harvest their Adam, or you could cure them and save them from being a Little Sister, and you would get less Adam, but you also would have, you would be considered a savior to them, and you would get the better ending. And that was, although it was very rudimentary, there wasn't like any gray area. You were either a good guy or a bad guy. It was an interesting twist, and something that also wasn't done often. I'm not going to say it was revolutionary or something that was never done before, but it was something that wasn't used often, that was a unique twist that also made Bioshock very interesting. Now, visually, even by 2013 standards, it is looking dated somewhat, but Bioshock is still amazing. One of the big things with the original Bioshock was the water effects. I remember, even beyond that beginning scene, there's that scene where you're first going through that one underwater tunnel where you could see outside, and it starts to crumble, and you see the water rushing in, and it looked, like I said, now you could kind of see the seams starting to crack a little bit, no pun intended, but the water looked real, and it was such a surreal, I can't think of a better word right now, experience. It felt so next gen visually. So Bioshock, to sum it up, the original Bioshock was this perfect symphony of a fantastic story, whether it was a rehashed story from the original System Shock, which I can't say, I haven't played the original System Shock, that's what I hear. It had a fantastic story with a hell of a twist in the end, beautiful visuals, unique twist on the first-person shooter gameplay, and great audio, great music, and Atlas was a fantastic character, which you also find out a real shit shocker about it in the end of the game. Combine the fact that there's a hell of a lot of gameplay and a story that you'll never forget. Bioshock really, to me, was the pinnacle. Even though it was only in 2007 and this generation was still relatively new, it was the pinnacle of the 7th generation. It showed at the time, even though now the consoles back then were considered powerhouses, it showed why you wanted a, at the time, next gen console. I mean, granted, these consoles now are in their twilight, but you need to experience, if you still haven't experienced Bioshock, and I know there's some people, I remember seeing the trailer for Bioshock when they first revealed it, and I was like, what the hell is this? What the it was a Big Daddy. What is this thing with a drill in its hand beating the crap out of me? And I went into Bioshock very skeptical until I played the demo. But it's a brilliant game all around, and this is one of the games that shows if you have the perfect blend of a great team of developers and talent, that you can make a game. Not only it shows that video games can be art, but they could be fun as all hell. You can enjoy the crap out of them, and you could still leave with something emotionally, like you just watched a great film by Steven Spielberg. And that's what Bioshock proved. It proved that gaming, with the horsepower of computers and consoles, if the talent's there, you can make a profound impact on your audience. And it proved that gaming is not just a child's toy. Now, Bioshock 2 was more of an evolution of the series. It wasn't revolutionary like the original Bioshock was considered. And I think it was unjustly criticized because people were expecting to be blown away twice, and they weren't. It was just, a sequel of the original Bioshock, and I think it was unjustly attacked because it wasn't, mind-blowing like the first time you entered Rapture. But what Bioshock 2 did was improve the gameplay of Bioshock. You actually play as a Big Daddy in Bioshock 2, known as Project Delta, and the nice thing about Bioshock 2, like I think I mentioned previously in this video, is that the gameplay of the original Bioshock was clunky because you could only use either your plasmid or your weapon one of them at a time. You couldn't have both wielded. In Bioshock 2, as the Big Daddy, you could wield both a plasmid and your weapon. You know, you could use your drill because you're a Big Daddy, Project Delta. You could use your drill and a plasmid simultaneously, and it really improved the pacing and the overall experience of Bioshock 2, and made, you know, battles and fights against the splicers, to put it bluntly, a lot more fun. It was a lot more enjoyable, and you weren't constantly switching back and forth, and it made engaging and it made combat more fluid and smooth. One of the downsides is that I wasn't a huge fan of the, you know, Andrew Ryan in the second one. Spoiler alert, he's dead. He's gone. It's 8 years after the original Bioshock, and the new nemesis in it is Sophia Lamb. I'm not going to go into the plot too much, but she didn't affect, like, Andrew Ryan, you'll never forget him. If he was a character in the film, whatever actor would have played him probably would have gotten an Oscar. But Sophia Lamb, just, you know, she was okay. She didn't take away from Bioshock 2, but she didn't really... I feel like her character almost felt forced, like they tried to make her the female Andrew Ryan. I mean, although her motivations were different, it just felt unnatural, and it just didn't work. I have nothing against female, you know, antagonists in whether it be film or games. It just, for some reason, it just did not feel right. She didn't feel as fleshed out, like the writers didn't flesh her out like they did Andrew Ryan. But beyond that, it was a great story. I like how in Bioshock 2 they humanized the Big Daddies, where they were pretty much one-dimensional. In Bioshock 1, they were just the guys who were a pain in the ass to kill. In this one, you kind of got a little bit of a backstory, and they made them someone you emotionally cared about, and it was still a well done game. The visuals weren't as mind blowing, once again, because it was done before. But it was a great sequel. It was a worthy sequel, and because they're both so damn cheap, if you haven't played Bioshock yet, or even if the games, you know, you're on the fence about them because of the gameplay you saw, I'm telling you, I saw, you know, before I even downloaded the demo, I saw a bunch of gameplay, and I was like, doesn't look like my cup of tea. And then I played the demo, and beyond the visuals, it was so much fun. I was obsessed with Bioshock. It's interesting to look back now. Bioshock, to me, the series as a whole, and I already have Infinite pre-ordered, is one of the things that went very right. There's many things that sucked with the 7th generation, the online passes, the soulless single player experiences, because everything has to have multiplayer, the endless string of sequels. But Bioshock, you know, is one game that was a light in the very dark 7th generation of console gaming, or gaming in general. And it's a series that will stay with you forever. Even if you're not a huge fan of the gameplay, there's some people who I know personally in the real world who weren't huge fans of the gameplay, but they still love the game because just the atmosphere and story, and they just wanted to play through it to be part of that world. That says a lot about, you know, the overall design of the Bioshock series. And so even if you aren't, you know, it doesn't look like it's your cup of tea, you'd be surprised. Pick it up. They're both dirt cheap now, whether it be for the PS3, 360, or PC. And I promise you, you won't regret it. It's an amazing series. And I hope that Bioshock Infinite even, you know, is a quarter as good as the previous two. You know, I loved Bioshock 2. It wasn't as good as 1, but I loved it still. So this is my, you know, kind of take on the Bioshock series, or retrospective, and just wanted to share it with you guys. And I'm looking forward to March 26th. It's going to be a hell of a game, hell of a day. This is Rich Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.